drum roll please, superdraft.io. Get into all of this. I'll announce my co-host in a moment, but he needs no introduction whatsoever. I'll do it now. It's Alex Baker, number 1 ranked DFS player in the world, also known as Awesemo. And Superdraft, newest sponsor of the Deeper Dive. Let me tell you that they're the future of daily fantasy sports. It's arrived. Experience Superdraft's exclusive game mode multiplier. Say goodbye to salary restrictions and hello to lineup freedom. Use your fantasy sports knowledge to draft any player you want and build your very own dream team. Countless lineup possibilities let you experience daily fantasy sports the way you want. Superdraft offers contests for football, baseball, basketball, hockey, and golf, so you can enjoy the best of DFS all year round. And here's what you got to do. Listen closely. All you have to do is sign up at Superdraft using the promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, and claim $20 free in super cash with your first deposit of $100 or more. Download it in the App Store or play at superdraft.io. That's Superdraft, no limits, more winning. Sponsor of the Deeper Dive. How we doing, brother?
Man, doing well. There's a lot of drama tonight in NBA DFS, man. Should be interesting to see. We each have like 8 or 9 roses to give out on each of our lineups. So who's gonna be your first rose tonight?
I actually don't know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, me either. Like I've only seen like ads for The Bachelor. I've never watched it myself, but it's crazy that like it seems to be the talk of the town these days.
It sure is, man. And it just keeps getting weirder. Let me tell you. Yeah, we will certainly be handing out some roses today. Some of them might get taken back, but we'll see. Anyway, I ask Adam this every day when we're on the show. Glad to have you filling in for him today. He's at the Wizards game. Not sure if that was a good decision or not, but he's there. He's getting free drinks and everything. I don't blame him. Initial take on this slate, Alex. You got 9 games and a ton of injuries right now. Like the amount of players that are questionable, doubtful, out is pretty insane. Right now at 5:05 p.m. What's your initial take here? Anything stand out to you? Anything we really need to pay close attention to?
A lot of nights, it's pretty easy to figure out who the best plays of the night are based on just like salary and projection. But tonight, that's not true. I mean, there aren't any lock button plays. There are a few that like might be with contingencies. Like we have Aaron Holiday with TJ McConnell questionable. McConnell doesn't play. I feel like Aaron Holiday is the only point guard in Indiana. That's a pretty big lock button. And then the other one is Thaddeus Young with Markkanen questionable. But no one's really jumping out to me as like you gotta have this guy or you're gonna lose. How about you, man? Like, who's the guy you're looking at tonight?
No, I hear you. And the strange thing about this situation in Chicago is it looked like Markkanen definitely wasn't going to play. Right? I mean, it seemed very much like he wasn't going to play. We're not going to know until after he goes through warmups, which is at 8:30. So is Thaddeus Young already ruled in as the starter?
I don't think he is. And if he doesn't start, he's not going to be a good play. So that adds the intrigue a lot. Where, I mean, he's not like a great fantasy player to begin with, but he's cheap. And that's the kind of guy you need on this kind of slate where there aren't any real lock button plays. So the strategy is going to vary a lot, but depending on the site. So, like, for example, DraftKings and SuperDraft have late swap. One that doesn't is FanDuel. So your strategy on different sites could be different based on this news.
For sure. And another thing, too, is like, even with late swap, there just isn't a lot of quality value. So swapping from Thad Young, you're going to be swapping to somebody that, comes nowhere close to Thad Young with no Lauri Markkanen value, unless you already don't have like an Eric Paschall in your lineup or maybe a couple other guys that we can discuss. But let's jump into it. Washington and Boston. The injuries here have just become it's laughable at this point, right? Like it's a circus in Washington. Look, no fault of their own, but it just keeps getting worse. Davis Bertans remains out. Bradley Beal's questionable. Jan Mahinmi is going to play. Looking at the rest of this team, though, Alex, I mean, it's absurd. You have Hachimura remains out for at least a couple of weeks. Thomas Bryant is out. And like I said, Bertans out, Mo Wagner is out. The list just goes on and on and on. And Josh and I discussed this morning, which kind of threw a wrinkle into things that hadn't been there before. They just tossed Jonathan Williams back down to the G League. So Josh thought, hey, maybe Bertans is going to be like ruled a surprise active. I said maybe Thomas Bryant will be a surprise active. We know that Mahimi is going to play, but that just makes them even more thin than they already were.
Yeah, I'm interested. Did you say that Thomas Bryant could be active?
No. I'm sorry. What I said was this morning, when you do the morning strategy show.
Oh, you don't have the injury news.
No, there's a ton of speculation in the morning. And he had mentioned that they put him back down in the G League. And he said, hey, you know what? Maybe Davis Bertans ends up going from out to questionable. And I said, with the way that Scott Brooks and this team has functioned all year, for all I know, Thomas Bryant is going to end up playing in this game. But we don't actually have information. It was just odd that they they sent Williams down, and there's nothing else to really be known at this point.
Yeah, that was shocking. I mean, Jonathan Williams was playing like 18 minutes a game, starting even. And it's all about the money. I mean, the 10-day contracts probably ran out, and then they cut him. That's not going to be a huge factor because like they do have guys on the team that barely play, like Admiral Schofield has been out of the rotation recently. They also waived Justin Robinson. So if there are any, someone was talking about him to me the other night. I'm like, well, how are we talking about Justin Robinson? But yeah, the bottom line here is like the prices are pretty much caught up with everyone. Some guys I might look at could be Jordan McRae, who's especially appealing if Bradley Beal ends up not playing, and Isaiah Thomas, who if Beal doesn't play, he should just get a lot of usage. It's cheap. So those are guys that are standing out to me on the Wizards.
Okay. We've got a special guest in YouTube chat. You want to know who it is?
I'm dying to know.
Are you familiar with the name Jade Roper?
No, well, I am now, man. She's the millionaire.
Here we go. Hold on to your hats, fellas. Wow. Jade Roper makes an appearance in the YouTube chat on the NBA Deeper Dive, January 6th. A day to be remembered. Hey, Jade, congratulations.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the rest of Washington?
So someone in chat actually just pointed out that Admiral Schofield got sent down, so thanks for that. So Jan Mahimi is someone that is playable, but and also Gary Payton is really, really cheap on FanDuel, so he'd be someone I consider. But I'm having trouble kind of digging through the rubble here. Another guy, Beal being questionable, if he's out, Garrison Matthews could play some minutes, and Beal could be a good play himself if he plays. So it's going to be contingent on Beal going or not.
Yeah, wait, was Schofield definitely sent down?
I just saw it in chat. Usually people know a good amount, but let me just look it up real quick. I didn't have him really in the rotation anyway. I'm just projecting Isak Bonga to get the Williams minutes.
Right, and Schofield didn't play last game either, so I don't know what to make of that, but they're just very limited, man. They are very limited. I think one good thing about it is it's a terrible matchup anyway, so it makes it a little bit less appealing. Would you say you have any priorities here across the sites for Washington? Let's say if Beal plays.
If Beal plays, then you really don't need to have anyone on this team. But Beal himself could be interesting, as well as Jordan McRae. If Beal is out, then I think Garrison Matthews, Gary Payton, Troy Brown, Isaiah Thomas, and McRae all kind of stand out depending on the site. We will have this news before lock, so it's not really that important to strategize around. But these guys definitely be on my radar if Beal's out.
The guru, you just got a free week with that, dude. You just got a free week with that comment. If we hit the like button, can we get Jade's projections for tonight? Yes, you can. No, in all seriousness, we appreciate all of the support that you guys give us, and always the thumbs up helps us out, helps us continue to do this and put out free content. Talking about the Boston side of this, we've got Marcus Smart at a really nice price point, Alex. Kemba Walker remains sidelined. At least we knew he got ruled out pretty early. And then you've got guys like Tatum, Hayward, and Jaylen Brown grouped in around similar price points. I said to Josh today, and I think on Friday, we've agreed that it feels like a lot of the times just take the cheapest of these guys if they're like a big discount. Like if Hayward or Brown is greatly discounted from Tatum, it just seems to make sense that you go with the cheapest option there, given that they're all playing big minutes and none of them have the particularly high floors here, but it is a very good matchup against the Wizards. How are you approaching Boston, assuming you have a decent amount of Marcus Smart too?
Yeah, I mean, this one is a little bit contingent on what site you play on. So on DraftKings, they've bumped up the salaries of all these guys, so that they're still like decent plays, but they did compensate for the matchup and the fact that Walker's out. On FanDuel, on the other hand, the prices haven't been adjusted high enough by any means. So when I'm building lineups on FanDuel, these guys, Brown, Tatum, Hayward, Smart, they're all core plays on FanDuel. And on SuperDraft, also you're getting a pretty nice multiplier on guys like Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. So if you're building some lineups on SuperDraft, I'm definitely gonna be looking to these Celtics too.
Okay, top plays from Boston.
On DraftKings, Smart stands out as probably the best play. On FanDuel, Brown, Tatum, Hayward, and Smart are all going to be core plays tonight. Probably just not all in the same lineup.
Okay. Yeah, when you start to take ownership into account for this, Marcus Smart undoubtedly going to be very popular. Right now, he is the highest projected owned player on the slate. On DraftKings, you've got him coming in at 27%, 32.4% on FanDuel. That's also the highest. And then up there, actually, I'm sorry, not as high on Yahoo. I think he's a little bit more expensive. I do want to ask you before we move on, though. Do you think, well, you know what? I'll wait till we get to that game. I can wait on that. You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Indiana, Charlotte. We've got the Hornets here as sizable dogs on the road. Not a huge surprise against an Indiana team that is still without Malcolm Brogdon. Only 5-point favorite, so I guess it could be worse. 208.5 total. We'll start with the Hornets side. The big thing with someone like Devontae Graham is he just gets a ton of minutes, 26% usage guy, 37% assists. You'll take those numbers when you're playing upwards of 38, 40 minutes in regulation, but it's also not an ideal spot for him or Rozier or really anyone like a discounted Bismack Biyombo who's coming off a game where he played 37 minutes, 32 of which came in regulation. Interested to get your takes on a Charlotte team that doesn't have the greatest matchup, but does have a few guys that are just getting a ton of minutes every night.
Yeah, I think the matchup, as you're saying, is pretty rough. Indiana, they're in the bottom quarter in pace, and they also are a pretty good defensive team. So that's why we're seeing this 102 team total for Charlotte. And Devontae Graham is definitely a killer fantasy player this year, but the minutes aren't really going to compensate for the fact that the team's fully healthy. And the matchup stuff. One spot on this team that's worth mentioning is Marvin Williams is out tonight. And I think that's going to trickle down to maybe Cody Zeller getting more minutes. So that's a guy that maybe you can consider, but the price on any of these guys is not really jumping out a ton of me, man. What about you?
No, I'm on the same page. And I think, on another slate, Biyombo could be a lot more appealing, but there are a decent amount of like 4K range centers that seem to make a little bit more sense. Here's the thing. If I projected Biyombo, he played 32 minutes last game before overtime. If I projected Biyombo for like 27 minutes, I would imagine I would get a lot of Bismack Biyombo at like 4,300.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I know Marvin Williams has been playing a lot of center, but when we really look at it, Biyombo and Zeller, there's no guy that's clearly better than the other. So it's hard to like project either one of them to get big minutes unless you expect them both to play alongside each other, which would PJ Washington's their starting power forward and he plays a lot of minutes too. So it's hard to really like see a ton of Zeller or Biyombo lineups.
Yeah, I don't imagine that'll be the case. Now, to be fair, if it were to happen, It's not crazy to think that they could get some overlap against a Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis lineup, but only because Sabonis and Turner are both, two like bigger 4 and 5. So it is a bigger front court, but I still think that it would be. I still think it would be. We would be very lucky if that were to happen. How many minutes are you giving Biyombo here?
That's a great point that they could go Zeller Biyombo to match up with Turner and Sabonis. But right now I have 25 for Biyombo. That's been about his average over the last 5 games. And then Zeller's average 19. So I have him at 23. And I'm just expecting the minutes to go to guys like Cody Martin, Dwayne Bacon, kind of like trickling down to some smaller lineups.
I will give you an interesting little piece here, though. Okay. PJ Washington was out last time they played, but this was one of the games where Zeller and Biyombo started alongside each other.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they have shown they like that lineup, and Zeller has been shooting more threes this year. So it's not like completely crazy from a basketball standpoint, but it's hard to see them changing up the starting lineup. Like because teams just don't mix it up that much usually.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see.
I think Indiana is some of the spots of the day where we got TJ McConnell questionable, and if he's out, man, how many minutes do you think Aaron Holiday is going to play? Because Brogdon's out, Oladipo's still out, so like who else do they have at point guard?
Yeah, I would think unlimited. They, by the way, Biyombo and Zeller played 18 minutes last time alongside each other. Not that
nice.
Not that it matters much, but I do think it's a little interesting point that maybe it could happen. Probably not. Anyway, Aaron Holiday played 32 minutes last game. You've got TJ McConnell, who is actually getting pretty good run. He played 17 minutes in that last one. And he came out of that game, played 17 minutes, but he had been getting 25, 27, 26. So, I mean, it stands to reason that 35 minutes from Holiday is certainly not out of the question here.
Yeah, I mean, that could even be the average where like he could get like 40 minutes if McConnell's out and the game's competitive. Of course, like you can't bank on the game being competitive, so that'd be a little bit high. But regardless of whether he's at like 33 or 35, he's definitely going to be one of the best plays of the night.
Here's the only thing I hate, and it really wouldn't matter if McConnell's out because you just get the minutes, you get the opportunity for Holiday. But the Hornets are playing at the slowest pace in the league since the start of December, and it's not even close. I mean, 95.59 possessions per 48. They're playing at a snail's pace, man.
That's definitely worth mentioning. Yeah, this is that's not going to make anyone like better in fantasy for sure. So let's see. Charlotte is 29th in pace on the year, so I guess it's nothing new either. But I think that it's just the minutes will be so high for Holiday in this contingency. If McConnell's in, I'll mention that Holiday's only averaged 30 minutes over the last 5, so my outlook for him would be just kind of another guy, not really a standout option.
Okay. Any interest in Domantas Sabonis today or anyone else from the Pacers?
Miles Turner is a reasonable price. Sabonis is pretty reasonable, but now that they got Edmund Sumner back in the rotation, I'm not expecting real big minutes for anyone.
Okay. Let's move it on to Orlando and Brooklyn. Another weird spot where Brooklyn owns a top 5 defense since the start of December over the past, 35 days or so. But they still play at an elevated pace, top 10 in basketball. And then Orlando is without Jonathan Isaac. They oddly haven't been better or worse defensively with Isaac off the floor this season, which is a big surprise to me, given how much of an impact he's seemingly made. He has been a disruptor, but they've managed to hold it together. Anyway, they're 5.5-point favorites, even without Isaac. Wouldn't expect him to move the line much at all. 211, to affect that line, 211.5 total. Starting with Orlando, we spent a ton of time on the strategy show, maybe more than we needed to, but like someone like Vooch at his price tag, he's $8,300 on DraftKings, which seems reasonable. But when you factor in some of the guys priced around him, it's not nearly as appealing. And then pretty much across the board, you've got decent price points. Terrence Ross has seen his salary come up. That makes it a little bit more difficult. Fournier, though, not projected for a lot of ownership. And then Aaron Gordon, last game started at the 4. The game before that, Wissawandu started at the 4, Gordon at the 3. So I think if Gordon starts at the 4 again, that makes him very interesting to me. If he starts at the 3, I have a lot less interest. I want him playing closer to the basket. He is much more effective there, and we've seen that over the years.
Yeah, and actually I saw that there is a starting lineup for Orlando where Gordon and Owundo are starting, so that could mean some extra rebounds for Gordon.
I would hope so. What are you doing with him?
So I think one thing that's encouraging is they did bring him back early in the last game in the first half. So they kind of set it up so he could play 3 shifts in the first half instead of 2. And they do the same thing with Fournier with Isaac out. So that's leading to some extra minutes for Fournier and Gordon on average. So I think they're both good plays. They're not like going to really be core plays of mine because there just aren't that many more minutes they can play, I guess. So Jonathan Isaac isn't a guy that really contributes a ton as far as usage, assists, rebounds. So Wesley Wundu is a little usage guy, so maybe a few extra shots, but nothing crazy.
Okay. So would you say you have any top options for the Orlando Magic today?
I like Fournier and Gordon, the guys you pointed out. I think that Vucevic is always the top guy as far as projection, but the position has a lot of opportunity cost because you only get 1 center or 2, depending on the site. Fultz is kind of on my radar, Augustine as well, but definitely not a game I'm heavily targeting.
Yeah, me neither. And I will say that Gordon could have one of these really solid efforts. He's been underwhelming this year, but if I want to see where he's starting, so that kind of makes a difference. By the way, just a little bit of news here. It looks like Gordon is starting at the 4 again. You mentioned that he's starting with the Wundu. Now, that should make it known that he is starting at the 4. No Kem Birch or anything like that. It's Fultz, Fournier, Owundo, Gordon, and Vooch, as you mentioned. And then Bradley Beal's still a game time decision. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist is out, which
Michael Kidd-Gilchrist is out?
Out.
We got to really overhaul our lineups here.
Dude, I thought you were – I was about to say, which means nothing, and then you interrupted. I was like, hold on, am I missing something?
I mean, he could have actually played with Marvin Williams out, but like –
yeah, he could have, probably like 15 minutes maybe.
Yeah. I kind of want to see it come back, but I don't think we're going to see it.
Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving, man, he remains out. Karis LeVert returned for a game, and he'll sit this one out, should come back for the next one, you would think, being that this is the front end of a back-to-back. This seems like a rest deal here. Really, what are you doing with Spencer Dinwiddie? He's still sub 8K on DraftKings. Jared Allen looked like he could be a phenomenal play if DeAndre Jordan was out, but DeAndre Jordan has already been ruled active in this one. That could have been a game changer at Allen's price point, even though he's been playing poorly. And then you've just got your usual cast of characters like Harris and Prince and Garrett Temple, all of whom are, around that 5K mark and do pretty much the same thing every night. Your thoughts on Brooklyn?
Yeah, Jared Allen's price really jumped out at me because he's seeing a big price decrease. He's been ice cold like the past few games, so that's why I don't really believe in those cold streaks that much. So I think this price is pretty appealing for him. I'm a little bit concerned that versus Vooch, maybe they start DeAndre Jordan. So once we get a starting lineup, that'll kind of indicate if Allen's a play or not. And then Garrett Temple is a pretty good price. He's averaged 33.5 minutes over the last 15 games with Kyrie out. And not a great per minute producer, but the price of 4,700 DraftKings, 4,300 FanDuel puts him in the value range.
Okay. So do you want to hit on anything else before I move on?
I think Garrett Temple would be my rose from Brooklyn.
Now explain to the audience what that means.
So, I mean, I've never seen The Bachelor, of course, but I've heard I've heard
You
from
love
my lady that at the end they have this thing called the rose ceremony where they award roses to their favorite ladies.
what season of The Bachelor's airing tonight?
This would have no concept of that.
I thought I could get you. I thought you were going to buy it hook, line, and sinker, but you didn't bite.
What about you, man? Are you going to be tuning in?
Oh, absolutely. Certainly. I don't know what season it is, but I'm definitely going to watch. But how can you follow up the Colton madness, right?
Yeah, I vaguely remember him from his NFL days, but
damn,
yeah.
It didn't work. It didn't work. All right. Maybe you really don't watch it. Hey, if you didn't know by now, you can use the sign-up code only until the 10th of January. Only till the 10th of January, the code 2020 to get 20 days of Awesemo Plus for just $20. That's for $1 a day. Awesemo Plus all access platinum membership for $1 a day. It's as good as it gets. It's honestly the best we've done yet, outside of us being cool and giving away free stuff for contests and everything. And then me breaking the site, giving away a free week. That's next level. But this is as good as it gets outside of that. It's $1 a day. It's $20. You get 20 days of Awesemo Plus all access, platinum. That's the code 2020. I don't have to say all one word. It's just 2020. Go to awesemo.com/join and check out everything on the landing page. We got videos that describe everything about how to use our best tools, our most popular tools that were developed and used every day by this guy right here, Alex Baker, and just really everything you need to be a successful player. If you didn't know, he is the #1 ranked player in the world. He's developed these tools. That's why I think people really take a liking to it. Not because, he's the #1 ranked player. That's great. It's more so they actually work, and people have had a lot of success with it. Just go on Twitter and see the boast tweets or the humble brag tweets that we get every day. It's awesome to see that stuff. Use the sign-up code 2020. Get 20 days of Awesemo Plus for just $20. It's $1 a day. You've got up till the 10th of January to get in on this wonderful deal. All right, man. Philly and OKC. I don't really know what to think of this game. Sixers are 6.5 point favorites. 213 total. It's kind of just ugly. But one thing that was discussed earlier on the strategy show that I feel pretty strongly about is Ben Simmons has become really one of the most enigmatic players in the league, right? Because he's $8,800 on DraftKings. He's $8,500 on FanDuel. When he decides that he actually wants to be aggressive, and for you guys that watch this morning show, tune me out for a second. But when he decides that he wants to be aggressive and wants to get the ball to the rim, he's going to score. He's going to be effective. When he decides that he wants to be more aggressive on the boards, he's going to haul in double-doubles every game. Coming off a 79 DraftKings point performance against Houston, and he was really the only reason they didn't get blown out of the stadium. So you and I haven't talked about Ben Simmons yet, but how do you feel about a guy like him who you never know what you're going to get, but when he's aggressive, when he takes control, he's dominant?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing with the Sixers to me is that, you think Matisse Thybulle being out wouldn't really change anything. But it did. We saw a lot more minutes from Simmons, Richardson, Harris, Horford. So those guys all are probably going to get a bump. As far as Simmons, you got to love that he's averaged 39 minutes over the last 5.
That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets that, like you're set. But the problem is his per minute rates over the last few games haven't really like the stats aren't really showing me anything. So like he's had 37% assist percentage over the last 5 compared to 35% on the year, 20.4% usage compared to 19.6 on the year. And the rebounding is up just by comparable amount. So I'm not seeing anything to me that would suggest that he's worth the price he has now, unless, I mean, you're the Sixers fan though. I mean, I got to defer to you. You've been watching these games probably. What's been going on?
It's just, in all seriousness, he's either aggressive or he isn't. And when he is, he's fantastic. That's what it comes down to. Actually take a look at the games where he has like I think it's 14 or more field goal attempts, 79 fantasy points, 60, 55, 54. Those are the 4 games that he has 14 or more field goal attempts. He's 50 plus in all of them. So again, and then with 13 or more field goal attempts, he's finished above 50. He's done that 7 times. He has 50 plus in all but one of them. So like, I think you see what I'm saying. I don't know how to project that because I don't know if he's actually going to continue to do what he needs to do, even when Joel Embiid like low key called him out, and then the very next day he did. You can't really factor that into your projections. But when he takes shots, when he actually attempts enough field goals, he's going to give you 50 plus like every single game, Alex.
Yeah, I mean he's a terrific basketball player, but it's like this is a big slate. There's a lot of those, so we gotta go
Absolutely.
off, the salary, and the salary is up a lot, particularly on DraftKings. So, well, like somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm willing to take some shots at 3% on DraftKings, but I mean, you don't need a lot here, and I don't think you want that much. It's still a good OKC team. Outside of Simmons, are you getting to anybody like Horford, who's been, he's been useless recently? Joel Embiid is still reasonably priced and can always give you monster performances depending on what type of minutes you're getting from him. And then Tobias Harris is another guy who's seen his price tag sit in that low to mid 6K range. What are you doing with the rest of the Sixers against OKC?
I think that they're in play, particularly Harris and Horford, just the best price of the bunch. So I'm looking at them, but no injuries. The matchup is just kind of average, so not really jumping out a ton. We did get some news here. So TJ McConnell is in. That means Holiday is not going to stand out a ton to me. Hardaway is probable. So if you have Brea, that pretty much is going to make him not play. I think this game should be a good basketball game, Oklahoma City versus Philadelphia, but both teams aren't really the greatest fantasy teams of all time.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, David Hanna, thanks again for the super chat. You hit us up with one this morning too. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate all your guys' support, whether it's super chat or just hitting us with a thumbs up, subscribe, and hitting that notification bell, all that good stuff. OKC, is Chris Paul an option for you today on FanDuel, where he's weighing in at only $6,700?
Yeah, Chris Paul and Steven Adams on FanDuel, great prices. On DraftKings, they're below average. So it's just kind of like, depends on what site you play. Noel being out, I do think makes a difference for Adams because Mike Muscala has been pretty terrible this year. And he's going to be the guy stepping in for Noel. So that could lead to some more minutes for Adams.
Okay. Anybody else here on the Thunder?
No one's really jumping out at me.
Okay. Yeah, me neither. I don't see this being a spot where I get to a lot of them. While the 76ers have lost 4 straight and put me in a god-awful mood every night, it's still a good defense and a team that is probably going to make life a little bit difficult for OKC today. I don't see them being a priority. Atlanta and Denver. And another thing too, if you've noticed, most of these games have one team that you really like and the other team with no real interest at all. Not all of them, but there aren't many games at all on this slate, Alex, where both teams really jump off the page and you're just like, hey, this is a great overall game.
Yeah, I mean, this next one, Denver versus Atlanta, could be one of those where, as you're saying, only one team stands out, but Atlanta, that's got to be the best matchup in the league. So we got to look at some of these Nuggets dudes.
Yep, and that's exactly what we'll do right now. Atlanta against the Denver Nuggets. We've got the Nuggets coming in as pretty big road favorites, 8.5 points here in Atlanta, 220 total. Look, it's a very slow-paced Denver team, third slowest pace in the league since the start of December. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Hawks are playing at an elevated pace, third fastest in the league. It's like a 6 possession improvement or boost for them. For the Denver Nuggets. It's a big time pace down game for Atlanta. Cam Reddish will play. John Collins is probable. Paul Millsap, I just want to get all these out of the way and then hand it over to you. Paul Millsap is likely to play. Same with Jamal Murray. And then the excuse me, the only real one is that Jabari Parker is unlikely to play here. But ever since Collins came back, his minutes have been really down a lot. So I don't even know if that makes much of a difference at all in this one. Let's start with the Hawks.
Yeah, as you called it, I mean, Denver is a horrible matchup. Low pace, but good defense. So um, DeAndre Hunter at 3,900 on FanDuel stands out as just an absurd price. So that'd be someone I consider. John Collins is decently priced, but his usage since coming back has actually been 26%, so that's pretty encouraging. On the season, 22.6%, so up quite a bit. The rebounding's way up. And this actually makes sense because he's been starting at center, and we can expect that if he's playing center closer to a basket, he should see better production. So I think Collins could be a play tonight.
Okay. Would you say he's a top option when you take the rest of the position into context and kind of weigh him against other players in his price range?
It's hard to go that far. I did see that his ownership actually looks like it's going to be quite high tonight. So I don't see like a tremendous advantage. But if you're kind of thinking that Collins has been great at fantasy, I think there's something to it.
For our premium subs here, I always want to get their questions answered when we can. Any interest in Gallinari? I know we're over that game, but I saw Morgan Smith threw it in there. He's one of our valued subs, Alex. So I'll ask you, any interest in Gallinari here, coming in at $5,800 on DraftKings and $57 on FanDuel?
So I'm looking at his numbers. He over the past few games, it's been about the same as his season-long numbers. So I'm just expecting an average performance here, and the matchup's pretty tough. So I'm not seeing any advantage in Gallinari.
All right, and make it take it. I see that question. I'll ask it when we get to that game next. So hold on, and we'll make sure to hit on that. On the Denver side of the ball, like you said, might be the best matchup right now in basketball. I think you could certainly say that Washington is one of them as well. But the Atlanta Hawks make life pretty easy for opponents. They're playing at the third fastest pace over the last 1+ months. They also have a bottom 10 defensive rating over that stretch as well. We know they're not particularly good in any facet of the game. Denver comes in as pretty big favorites. It looks like everyone's going to play. Run across this team here. And don't forget guys like, I'm not saying you have to like them, but because of their price points and minutes, guys like Gary Harris as well, if you want to talk about him. But let's start with Nikola Jokic. He's $9,200 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's $8,800, which is, look, his price has come down, but he's been a disappointment this season, Alex. It's just a favorable spot. Do we get to Nikola Jokic here on a day where we can only expect that, at least on FanDuel, he's going to have a decent amount of ownership? Maybe
I don't think that any centers really stand out above the rest today's slate. So this price for the Nuggets is up on DraftKings to kind of compensate for this plus matchup. So all these guys are kind of standing out as not like great plays, but just like average. But on FanDuel, like pretty much everyone on this team is just way too low price. So I think you can load up on Nuggets on FanDuel.
Okay, who are you loading up on?
So I think Millsap at 4,800, power forward is always tough to fill, so like that. Grant on both sites is dirt cheap. On DraftKings, he's 3,500. This is a guy that coming off the bench, we know that if he's playing well, if he's not playing Millsap, he'll close. So you got that upside. And we got Gary Harris at 4,500 on FanDuel. That's just too cheap. And then I'll mention Michael Porter Jr. because, man, I apologize for anyone who used my projection update last time because there was this report that said he was going to average 25 minutes a game from the coach. He's going to be the first guy off the bench. And he was the first guy off the bench in the first half. He didn't even make it off the bench in the second half. So got burned by some reporting there. But I think there's something to that where it's like you can't you can't account for that in a projection. And this matchup versus the Hawks is about as good as it comes. So there's a pretty good chance that if Porter gets in the game, he's going to play well. So this is someone who's not going to jump out in like an optimal lineup, but I think that there's a lot of minutes upside there.
No, I think that's a great call. It's risky for sure, but it's also a spot that could pay off given his price point. Now, it's really weird though that you mentioned it. Like he played 26, then he played 11, then 23, then 12. And even in that game where he played 11, which was directly following the 26-minute game, he came back in mop up duty where like Vanderbilt and Juancho Hernan Gomez were in there and like guys, creative players, but he was really only on pace to play 7 minutes in that game. So I actually don't know what it is. Maybe you have a better idea than I do, but I'm not necessarily sure what Mike Malone is thinking here. Is it just, hey, if he gets into a groove, we'll keep him on the floor?
Yeah, this is just a spot where it's impossible to make a minutes projection that has like any degree of certainty. So that's kind of a spot where you can just bank on it. His minutes going way up because they have announced that's kind of a plan. And he was a high draft pick, so there was an incentive for them to feature him. I don't want to dwell on it too long because it's speculative, but I think that I won't have him, but he's someone that like might be low owned and a little bit better than the ownership.
Okay, let's move it on. New Orleans and Utah. Looking at this game, you've got what is projected to be a competitive affair. You've got the Utah Jazz 3-point favorites on the road, 222 over under in this one. Maybe we can say this is one where we like both sides of it, but I want to start with the New Orleans Pelicans, knowing that Drew Holiday has been ruled out of this game. Alex, how does that influence your decision making at the guard position for New Orleans? And does it mean that someone like Lonzo Ball, whose price tag has come up specifically on DraftKings, even against Utah, still makes for a very good play? And who fills the void for the lost Holiday minutes? Are you getting to like Frank Jackson or Alexander Walker? What's the plan here for New Orleans?
So I think that Lonzo Ball is a much better play with Holiday out because
Agreed.
we've
Big
seen
time.
just a lot of minutes variance in Ball, but without Holiday, they just have one less guy that he has to compete with. And I expect the usage and assists to be higher without Holiday on the floor. So that's leading me to think that the Ball's a pretty nice play. And then I don't mind Etwan Moore, who is most likely to get the start for Holiday. He's actually been pretty good for fantasy this year. 20% usage, much higher than I remember in previous years. So I think that he could be a good value tonight.
Okay. Yeah. God, you mentioned the whole like where best value was. You mentioned it at the beginning of the show. What are you doing? And we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but just a quick thought. How are you going to give these minutes out to the backcourt?
So Etwan Moore has been playing the most minutes recently. So I think that he's been averaging 24. I put him at 28. It's been the trend that his minutes have been up. He hasn't even been in the rotation the whole year though, so I don't feel super confident about that. And then I'm expecting the other minutes to kind of trickle out to Frank Jackson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But I don't have enough confidence of which one of those two is going to be that I'd play him in fantasy.
Yeah, I have no idea. I really don't. I think you're right. I have Etwan Moore at 27 minutes, Lonzo Ball at 34, and then it gets murky after that. Are you interested in the rest of this Pelicans team?
Hart is someone that plays the minutes. He's cheap on FanDuel. Redick. Oh, I forgot to mention Redick. I expect to get more minutes too. He averaged about 30 for most of the year. Recently, it's been down to 24, but I expect that with Holiday out, he'll play more minutes.
Okay. Did you want to touch on Favors or Ingram or anyone else?
They're definitely good players, but the matchup is pretty tough for us, Utah. So I'm looking for that additional edge with the injuries. And we did get one update here that I mentioned. So Collins is starting, but he's not starting at center today. and I think that is going to decrease his outlook. To we got Fernando starting at center, so that's something to keep in mind here.
Okay, yeah, it's solid point. Worth keeping in mind though that he's probably still going to play most of the minutes at center tonight, or a lot of them. Right. I mean, we've seen Fernando start and then Collins still get, what is it? I think like 24 or so minutes at the 5. I don't know if that'll be the case tonight, but I have trouble believing that Lloyd Pierce has really any intention whatsoever of giving like Landon Fernando all of those minutes. And do we have news on Damian Jones yet? Probably not important, but if he's out, my guess is that Collins gets even more minutes at center.
I think I just saw that he's in, but it's hard to even think he plays more in a couple minutes.
Certainly not a big thing, but I would say a few more go to Collins if he was out. On to the Utah side of the ball. Josh mentioned earlier today that he really likes Utah, not just one, but a bunch of these guys. Do you share the same sentiment, and who are they going to be the top players for you?
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup. So Bojan Bogdanovic is standing out as one of the chalk plays. It's more just because the price is low than anything. So I think that he's the best price, but he doesn't really stand out a ton compared to the ownership.
Okay. So let me ask you this, just down the line, Donovan Mitchell with Mike Conley remaining out today. Joe Ingles, our boy Jingles, Bojan Bogdanovic, and then Rudy Gobert. How would you rank them today in order of preference?
I mean, I'm just kind of crunching the numbers here, and they're all about equal, where it's just a little bit above average, but not tremendous to the point where I'm really gonna go out of my way to get them.
That's where I have them at as well. I like them. I intend to have plenty, but none of them stand out as phenomenal options today. Whether it just be price point or something else. Would you rather go with Rudy Gobert or Vooch? We had that question earlier in chat, and I wanted to hit on that on, say, DraftKings.
So I think, man, that's about as close as they come.
It is.
Vooch is the better, better usage and assist guy. And the matchup's better for Gobert. So I think flip a coin. That's the best I can do.
Fair enough.
Wait, hold on. I got this new prop here, the Magic 8 Ball.
All right, shake it. I'm gonna ask a question. Will Vooch outperform Rudy Gobert at their prices?
Oh man, you're gonna love this. It says cannot predict now.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Flip a coin. There you have it. We got to start doing a daily 8-ball segment for sure. That's awesome. And I will throw out there that Bogdanovic just has been getting a ton of minutes, and so long as that's the case, to me, he's in play. You rely on scoring. There's no question. He relies on being able to produce scoring, and if he's not knocking down shots, if he's not hitting threes, he's going to disappoint you. But against New Orleans, I'm certainly willing to take that risk. One of the worst defensive teams in the league, with a fast pace of play. I think all of that is certainly going to put them on the table. San Antonio and Milwaukee, I want to mention them, but if you wanted to check out any of the free content today at awesemo.com, AWESEMO, the strategy syllabus, 4 p.m. that was released, that is out. And then the player projections came out this morning for NHL. If you want to get a little hockey action in there, check that out as well. It's at awesemo.com. So that's free content today for anyone that isn't using 2020 to sign up. Or the other one, bear with me here, it's well worth listening to this. In 2020, but then if you are trying to get in and do a little bit more than getting 20 days for $20, we've got the New Year sign up code promo, New Year, one word, 20% off Awesemo Plus Platinum yearly pass. It's $200 off. That's good until January 10th. So New Year, all one word, 20% off your full Platinum yearly pass of Awesemo Plus. All right, San Antonio and Milwaukee. This game's an interesting one because Pat Connaughton's out. No, it's interesting because Giannis is $1,300 less than Luka, but he's just averaging, less than 30 minutes per game over the last 30 days. He's not playing a ton of minutes, whether it be he doesn't need to or he doesn't need to. And on the opposite side of this game, like DeJounte Murray is going to play. He was on the injury list, but his minutes have been a little bit unpredictable, but he's still a quality per minute guy. Mix in players like DeRozan and Aldridge, whose prices have come down themselves. It's an odd game to discuss, but one where I think some value could come from. And one of the reasons for that is, Alex, this game has a 229.5 total. It's the highest on the slate between the Spurs and the fastest paced in the league team in the Milwaukee Bucks, who also rank number 1 in defensive rating.
Yeah, you gotta like the pace of this game. So I think that's making some of these guys stand out for sure.
So what are you doing with the Spurs?
Spurs, I think it's just Marcus Aldridge, DeRozan, and Murray for me. Aldridge, I'm kind of worried about this matchup versus Giannis. We'll see what the starting lineup is. Maybe they'll shake it up to avoid that. But from a price standpoint, he's probably my favorite. And then Murray, as you say, it's kind of frustrating because he is so good per minute. But they must not like his defense in San Antonio because he just doesn't get the minutes.
Okay. Top play from the Spurs?
Aldridge.
Okay. What about Milwaukee? Are you getting to Giannis Antetokounmpo? Are you getting to anyone from the Bucks today against the Spurs in the highest projected scoring game of the night?
I like Bledsoe, coming back from this minutes restriction. If he's a full go, he'd be well priced. And then Giannis, I mean, if you have the money, he's worth it. There's not much value on the slate, but he is a significant discount from Luka.
Okay. Anything else? I don't want to just brush over this game, but I do think it's kind of cut and dry.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Dallas and Chicago. Kristaps Porzingis is out. We'll get to Lauri Markkanen in a moment. That you want to talk about cut and dry. It's very simple if we get the news. But right now we're still waiting. Luka Doncic at his price, 12-2 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you've got Luka weighing in at 11-6. How much Luka are you getting to today? He's a phenomenal per minute guy. Excellent. Look, he leads his team in every category, every fantasy relevant category. And he could go out there, give you 80 plus on any given night. But are you getting to him, and are you getting to him over Giannis tonight?
On FanDuel, I have them about equal, but on DraftKings, man, 12.2K, like eliminates pretty much any edge you can get. So I think he's fine if you can find value guys get around him, but that is very difficult today.
Okay. What about the rest of Dallas? For me, it's pretty much just Luka. I don't know. Maybe if Tim Hardaway's out, you could make an argument for somebody here, but mostly just Luka for me. Maybe you have a different opinion.
No, same. Hardaway is probable now, so that pretty much eliminates any interest for me.
Okay, Thaddeus Young on the other side. This is the big news here. Markkanen was originally not expected to play, and now he's questionable. But Thaddeus Young, in the event that Markkanen doesn't play, is going to almost certainly get the start. He's getting all of the backup power forward minutes. He played 27 minutes last game, where Lauri Markkanen also came out of the game in the fourth quarter and played 29 minutes himself. I'd be projecting Thaddeus Young, honestly, for about 33, 34 minutes in the event that Markkanen's out. Would make him by far the best value play on the slate. But we have to wait, and this kind of sucks because we don't have news until after warmups, and it's an 8:30. It's the second to last lock of the night.
Yeah, I think if Markkanen's in, Thaddeus Young is still okay. He has been averaging 22 minutes per game this year. So I'm happy enough to just gamble on this one. I don't have any insight beyond, the fact that Markkanen missed shoot around. He's questionable, but it's hard to come by value. So I think that the best play is to just put in Young and to hope that you get lucky.
I agree. And I'll just throw out, I think Zach LaVine at ownership that's come down all the way to 10% is perfectly fine. This guy's getting up like 25 shots a night recently. With that type of shot volume, you don't have to convince me that he can go off and have a ceiling game and you're really happy with it. Any other thoughts on this, on the Bulls before we close this slate out?
Nope.
All right. I'll turn it over to you for the Kings and Golden State. We got plenty of time here. to get this last game in and hand it over to the fellas at Live Before Lock. Josh Engelman, Chris Spags will take you up till 7 p.m. But here you have it. It's Kings, Warriors. Imagine this. The Kings are 11.5-point favorite, 211 point total. And Marvin Bagley's out. Bogdan Bogdanovic is out. The floor is yours, man. What are you doing with this one? Let's close it out strong.
Yeah, I think Golden State's the more interesting team here because we do have D'Angelo Russell and Draymond Green out. So I'm trying to, figure out where these minutes are going to go because we haven't seen this particular combination of players. I think Eric Pascal and Kai Bowman are the most likely value plays on the team, but there are a lot of question marks there. So I think a good strategy maybe is put in Thaddeus Young. If Markkanen plays, then you pivot to Pascal or something like that, and I think that would be a pretty nice strategy. And on FanDuel, you can go to some of the other guys on Golden State for the Kings. So, I mean, the Warriors are pretty bad, so I like going to some of these guys. Bielitsa on FanDuel stands out as an exceptional value, 4,800. But everyone else has been priced up on both sides, so it's hard to have more than just 10% or so.
Man, we're 40 shy of 3,000 viewers right now.
Nice.
Hoping to get there. Let's create some multi-accounts and sign in for free. I'm kidding. Don't do that. That would be really dumb and pointless. But hey, we're about to close it out. Appreciate you guys. I will say though, with 3,000 viewers, 295 likes, man, you can do better than that. Show us some love, man. We love you guys. Show it back in the way of a thumbs up button. In all seriousness, though, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us every day. It's been a fun show. It's a tough slate, and I wish you the best of luck. Final thoughts here. I'll let you close it out with this last one instead of looking at the slate overall. With the Warriors and Kings, who are your top overall plays from this game, the only 10 p.m. tip-off on the slate?
Bielitsa on FanDuel, and then Pascal and Bowman. Those guys, it's just kind of because they're cheap, and I think they could depending on how this game shakes out, one of these two guys could play more than 30 minutes, and then you have a real bargain value.
All right. That'll do it for us. Hang around. You know what's up. Josh Engelman, Chris Bags coming up next till 7 p.m. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the Deeper Dive presented by Super Draft. Down today or check it out at superdraft.io. See you back here tomorrow.
What's up, guys? We should be starting up now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the awesemo.com Live Before Lock show. Got ourselves 9 NBA games today with some important news that we're all waiting on, and hopefully we'll get it over the course of this next hour. I'm Chris Spags, joined once again by my Monday pal, the Chubster, Josh Engelman. How are you doing, Josh?
I am good enough, and that's really all that matters. How about you?
I'm passable as well. I feel like that's our usual Garfield-y style Mondays. We're getting as by as best we can. But you know what, Josh? It's a good day today because today we are presented by Super Draft, which is a presenting sponsor of my short form video, The Four Corners. And also they are the future of DFS, and the future of DFS has arrived. Experience Super Draft exclusive game mode multiplier, where you can say goodbye to salary restrictions and hello to lineup freedom. Use your fantasy sports knowledge to draft any player you want and build your own dream team. Countless lineup possibilities let you experience daily fantasy sports the way that you want. Super Draft offers contests for NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and PGA, so you can enjoy the best of DFS all year round. Let's go sign up for Super Draft today using the promo code AWESEMO. Claim your free $20 in Super Cash with your first deposit of $100 or more. Download it in the App Store or play at superdraft.io, because Josh, at Super Draft, there's no limits. There's more winning. That's what I like to hear from my sponsors. Correct, Joshua?
I'm a big fan of winning.
I am also a big fan of winning, and it's much easier at Super Draft. So go check them out. They are sponsoring a lot of these shows on this channel, and they are one that you should be checking out right now. The $20, really. I know we just did the actual marketing copy for you. Normally try to put it into more of a normal conversational way, but it is really going to help you out there to build your bankroll if you deposit right now with the promo code AWESEMO. And of course, we do have a special deal going right now for Awesemo Plus to start the year right. Use the promo code 2020 right now at awesemo.com/join. Get yourself the first 20 days of the year, or really the 20 days from whenever you sign up, for just $20. Go to awesemo.com/join right now and use that promo code 2020 for a premium all access Awesemo Plus pass. That's all the data we have at your fingertips right now for just $20 with that promo code 2020. All right, Josh. So what news item do we need the most right now? Got a lot of stuff to talk about here, and a lot of things that we're waiting on, which is not the best whenever we have the shows, and I'm waiting on very important news for some injuries. No, we don't know the status of Bradley Beal. We don't know the status of Lauri Markkanen. Both those guys are game time decisions, both important parts of how you're building a lineup tonight. But what's the news item that you care the most about right now with the crunches you've ran so far?
Probably Markkanen, although if Beal gets ruled out, that's really going to put everything in disarray. So it's probably Markkanen, just from a slate perspective, since he is chalk across the industry. Whereas if Beal gets ruled out, I think it just creates new structures to lineups. The opposite would be kind of weird.
Yes, I think that makes sense. And oh man, that's not the word. I'll take a timeout for that one. Serial DFS killer, but we don't use those kind of words here on the channel. But yeah, I think the Markkanen news to me is an important one. I think there's one thing which I was thinking about as the deeper dive guys were talking about it. The show was just on with Alex and Lofty talking about the I guess the risk of playing Young and how to handle that. I mean, I think I'm just going to put Young in lineups now, and if he's not in, I'm just going to go to Pascal. I don't love Eric Pascal. He doesn't light my loins on fire, but no Draymond Green in the mix, no D'Angelo Russell. At his price point, I'm willing to just play Young, assume he's in, and hope for the best. But how are you handling it with the crunches you're running so far?
I'm treating Markkanen like he's out, and just going to be playing a bunch of Thad Young. I have 38% on FanDuel right now, only playing on FanDuel today.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, look, Young is a good player. I mean, in general, like, he's a competent NBA player, not the most exciting DFS play in the world, but 0.9 fantasy points per minute in court time shared with Zach LaVine, which I think is one important distinction there. If you just run the numbers generally, it's important to have Zach LaVine in the mix just with how much usage he's going to control. He does become a 35% usage rate guy in court time without Markkanen as well. But yeah, I think Thad Young to me looks like one of the better value plays on the slate. Certainly a guy you can probably find more upside, but in terms of value, just like, he's the clear best value to me.
Yeah.
What other value do you find important on the slate?
So I guess we should talk about that in two separate ways, FanDuel and DK. So let me just sort this table a little bit.
Yeah, the prices are pretty different to start the year on all the sites, which I think is worth noting, because we do talk about these things. Like Chris Paul, they were talking about that in the deeper dive as well. But like Chris Paul's price on FanDuel, a million times more appealing than DraftKings. And there might be some of these that we'll talk about throughout the hour where it's more relevant to one site than the others.
So I think there are 4 guys below 4K on DraftKings that are viable from a value perspective. Although we got ownership 8 minutes ago. Let me just update DraftKings quick, just to make sure that I'm not like misspeaking here. Alrighty, good. So, yeah, okay, nothing great. So Thad Young is chalky-ish, 28%. Eric Pascal would be the other guy. He's at 20. And then we've got Trevor Ariza at 3,600, Kai Bowman at 3,500. Those would be two guys that I have some interest in that aren't picking up all that much ownership. That's really where the value is concentrated to me in the like value price category, not necessarily just guys that are underpriced. These guys are the sub 4K type guys. On FanDuel, going to be, I mean, Glenn Robinson's 4,300. I think you have to take a look at him. Thad Young is 4,200 on FanDuel, but I still think he's very viable. Eric Pascal, again. Marcus Smart is sub 5K. There's not a lot of like $3,500 these jam this guy in guys on FanDuel. In fact, the only guy below 4K in my entire FanDuel player pool is Eric Pascal at the minimum.
Okay. Yeah, I think that seems fair. And one thing too, I'm seeing in the YouTube chat right now, amidst a litany of things. So the YouTube chat might be on ignore status for the day because of what they're talking about. But one guy in there who I feel like is generally saying a lot of things that are running against the chalk. Like we talked about this before, like the other day, a very different situation. But Ersan Ilyasova, I remember people being like, "Oh, like he's not a good play, like he's not that productive." Like, and it's a very different situation because you have Giannis out of that lineup there compared to Lowry Markin. Those are not the same things. But Young, to me, is just a play that looks solid as solid value. And if he gets you 25, you're probably content with that. Matchup, I'm not really too concerned about. I think this is one of those spots where people can nickel and dime it and you can talk yourself out of it. For tournaments, if you want to go some different ways, like nobody's saying play 100% Thad Young. But in terms of just value, he's one of the better values on the slate with the guys that you mentioned. So I think that's one thing which I feel like we always talk about on the show, but people do love really getting cute with chalk, and you don't always have to get so cute unless, there's a logical reason why not. And there isn't a logical reason why not if Markkanen isn't in.
Yeah, he's not, and he's just not picking up all that much ownership to begin with. So I'm not super worried about it in that regard. It's not like he's at 87% ownership or something. We have him on DraftKings under 30 on a 9-game slate. I'll happily roster him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's sort of that's one of the things that you have to weigh when you're building your lineups on your own, and why a lot of our guys use different leverage scores and all of that. But as Josh mentioned, right now we have Thad Young at 28% projected ownership on DraftKings. It's not really the level where I'd be terrified of having him at that mark. And again, if it doesn't go that way, if we do know that Markkanen ends up in, you can pivot to Pascal, and I think that's one thing I'll probably be doing tonight. All right, let's go through some of these other plays here. Obviously, again, maybe some differences on the site as we go, but Marcus Smart, another play that should be popular today. He didn't bust in that last game against Chicago, even though Kemba Walker wasn't in. Had a monster day against Atlanta the last time that we had done a show. Smart today, I'm back on again. I don't usually play NBA on the weekends as much just because of the NFL going on. But Smart to me didn't affect me in that bust, but it doesn't surprise me that he would bust against Chicago, a team that plays slower, does play with with actually pretty decent defense. Smart in this spot against Washington, I really have no issue with at all. How are you with Marcus Smart relative to the field?
Marcus Smart is my most owned player on FanDuel today. I had 65% on my last go, so about double the field. I'm getting a ton of Gordon Hayward as well. Quite a bit of Jaylen Brown, a little bit less so of Jason Tatum, but I'm pretty heavy on these Celtics clear across the board.
Yeah, so they're your favorite. I saw our tweet about it, of course, which you can see some of the things now that we're talking about on the shows on our @awesome_com Twitter handle. But I saw that the Celtics were your team of the day there. So where did you land on your favorite play and Smart? And I guess, and how are you ranking those guys? Because you had a lot of interest in Boston, which it's hard not to going against Washington, obviously.
Yeah, for me, I want to make sure that I don't misspeak across sites. Pull that up. On FanDuel, it would be Smart, Hayward, Brown, Tatum. On DraftKings, it would be Smart, Brown. It would be Smart, Hayward, Brown, Tatum. So same on both sites. It's a little bit closer between Brown and Hayward on DraftKings than it is on FanDuel.
Okay. Yeah, I think that seems fair. And Smart does seem, he's really the only guy who hasn't been priced up at all, even though he had that monster day against Atlanta, where all these other guys have been, they've been getting priced up and down slightly, but there's always been one guy out of the rotation. And I feel like those guys have been priced up for when Hayward was out. They've been priced up for Kemba being out. Like there's just so many ways that their price is like a little bit higher than it should be. I don't mind Tatum at his price point, but it's hard to get to him for 8K when there are so many guys who are a little bit cheaper who I would think have comparable upside. So I'm with you. I think Brown and Hayward, a little more reasonable salary there on DraftKings.
On DK, I would rather have Daniel Tice as well than Tatum.
Yeah.
Like not
No,
in an overall points perspective, like relative to salary.
So Tice is a really good value. He's also a pivot to that $3,700 value. We've talked about guys like Young, guys like Pascal. I'm with you on Tice. I think he's really sneaky. The problem that I have is that it's a much better spot for Cancer coming off the bench with just less usage and more opportunity to do his thing. One of the best center matchups in the league. Are you trying to get both Tice and Cancer? Because I do have both of them, but I feel like I should be leaning Cancer just because Tice is fine, but he's sharing the floor with guys who shoot a lot more. And whereas Cancer just kind of gets that unabridged run. He's been over, I think, 32 fantasy points in his last 3 games.
I'm not going to have either guy on FanDuel tonight, so it's hard for me to answer. But I would expect to have quite a bit of Tice in relationship to the field. We have him at 7% right now. I'd be very surprised if I didn't have double that on DK, but I'm not playing there, so I can't immediately say it.
Do you have any Cancer interest at all? I guess independent on FanDuel, or would you have it on DraftKings if you were playing there?
Cantor, no.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I get the reasons for Tice as a price point thing. I do think Cancer at his price point, he's priced up enough where there's a pretty big difference. I think it's $1,800 difference between him and Tice on DK, where I think that's sort of the logic why I would go to Cancer. But I agree the value on Tice is definitely going to be an appealing one, but Cancer just more productive to me.
Sure.
Let's see here. Okay. Under the premium Slack, see if we missed anything. Nothing good. No, everybody's talking about collusion. Josh, are we colluding today? You want to do some colluding?
If we could win $1 million.
I don't think there's $1 million tournament for basketball, so that's the only reason stopping us today, I'm sure. But
exactly,
yeah, that's there's a lot of fun news floating around here, but I don't know that it changes anything in the industry. Let's see. All right, going through the ownership just to see real fast if anybody else has popped up. Nikola Vucevic is a guy on DraftKings who's going to be pretty decently owned. Not quite the same equation on FanDuel, but I guess the price is still pretty fair there. He'll be over 20% on FanDuel as well. I think actually comparable on Yahoo too. So he's one of few guys who's going to be pretty decently owned on all the sites. Vooch, and I guess the Magic players in general, what are you doing with Vooch, who's been really remarkably consistent? One thing that jumped out to me too is he's had big games against teams like Utah, Miami, Milwaukee recently. This spot is a much better one for him going against Brooklyn. So I like Vooch quite a bit. The price, it's not a must-have price, but I do think he has upside on it on his DraftKings price. What are you doing with him?
So he is one of the 3 centers that I'm getting with any sort of volume on FanDuel. Happy to go there. Just think it's a pretty good spot. And at 8,500, it's not as if he's priced in some sort of really scary way. I have almost no Evan Fournier after thinking that I was going to have all of the Evan Fournier today. So I guess I should put that out there. I'm actually lower than Alex is on him. But for right now, I essentially don't have him. That surprises me quite a bit. We'll see if it changes on this next crunch. Just shy of 1,000 lineups right now. But what I thought I was going to have a lot of earlier, I do not have now.
Why didn't you get Fournier?
Just after working through my numbers and going through rotations and making some changes based on who's in and who's out, it ended up bringing Evan Fournier's projection down lower than where I was this morning.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, that bums me out because Fournier is one of those guys, especially as we talked about the other show. Now there's more minutes to go around on the wing. Like I really always get Fournier. And his price has come down enough. I think the issue is that for my projections, and one of the things that I think is hard to get a read on him, he had a lot more usage in that stretch without Vooch. He was a much more reliable play in that stretch. Recently, we've seen Terrence Ross come off the bench with about 29-30% usage in the last few games. And Aaron Gordon's in the same lineups for the most part with Fournier. Vooch is in the same lineups with Fournier. Like, I just don't know that I trust him night to night. But I think the field's probably going to ebb towards Ross a little bit more. I guess the ownership hasn't fully backed that out. I think that's the reason why I don't mind going to Fournier today, because we have 2 decent box score games for Ross, not the same for Fournier. But he's hard to get a read on for me because Ross really does take away from him, and Gordon as well. Like, really, there's a lot of guys you can take away from Fournier on a given night.
Right now, we have Fournier at 17% ownership on FanDuel, and we have Ross $1,100 cheaper at less than 1%. So I'm actually not even mad now that I see it, that I just have Ross instead of Fournier.
Okay. No, it seems fair. I also missed a super chat from Matt Briggs, who gave us $2.79 Canadian. So whatever the exchange rate that works out to, we appreciate it regardless. Asking either or, would you go Ball and Mitchell or CP3 and Levine for a FanDuel GPP?
Ball, Mitchell, CP3, and Levine. I just exported my crunch right now, so I'll refresh and see where I stand on both guys. That way I'm not just making it up. Ball, Mitchell, CP3, Levine, right?
Yep.
Ball, Mitchell, CP3, Levine. Okay. So Ball, I have more than double CP3 in comparison to Lonzo. Levine and Mitchell, I have relatively comparably, so the Chris Paul side.
Okay. Also, Karis LeVert officially out Monday, will be available to play Tuesday, it looks like, based on the news. So
Thought he was out all day.
yeah, I assumed he was as well, but I guess that's just officially came through. So there you go. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on everywhere.
It's an active day, you know?
It is.
Must
at
have
a
been some
variety
news this weekend.
Yeah, not with freaking Bradley Beal news, not with Lowry Markkanen news, but with everybody else. Just right, a lot of tweet alerts coming through.
It's been an interesting weekend, I guess.
Also, I feel one of your favorites is back in YouTube chat, which I feel like is interesting.
For now.
I got some questions here in the premium Slack. Any interest on Jarrett Allen on FanDuel, or who is your favorite power forwards for FanDuel? Our boy Dave is asking in the premium Slack. I'm not playing FanDuel tonight. I'm a DraftKings exclusive. They earned the rights to me after a heated contract negotiations to get all of my collusion exclusively on DraftKings. But Jarrett Allen, I do have on DraftKings tonight. I'm intrigued by the play. Did you get him on FanDuel at all? And I guess your thoughts overall on the power forwards on FanDuel in general.
I'm slightly north of the field on Jarrett Allen as of right now. Power forward, I'm just kind of flat. I either have guys or I don't. And everybody I have is basically in the 15 to 25% range, except for paying down. So Thad Young and Eric Paschal, two guys that are getting a bit of love for me. Rashawn Holmes in the mid tier. And then I'm getting to Jason Tatum on FanDuel more so than the field is. He's just sort of my least favorite Celtic.
Okay. Also, real fast, just muting, temporarily giving a little timeout to some people in the chat. We're like calling for anybody's job is never cool, but especially like somebody who didn't do anything wrong. Like just, you guys can talk to Chris Randone tomorrow on the show. He'll be on Live Before Lock with Eddie, so you can chime in then. But just like it's just unnecessary. Like again, just don't be jerks. You imagine people like if you're working in your cubicle job and people were like, "Hey, like we should fire Morty from down the hall." It's just like don't do that. It's not anything we'd want for ourselves. So don't do that. And don't spam the chat with it, especially. Dadler 40 on the premium Slack asking Gobert and Temple or Adams and McRae for a FanDuel GPP. A little early for the either ors, but I want to make sure we take care of the premium Slack today. If you had to go Gobert and Temple or Adams and McRae for FanDuel, what would you do?
Gobert and Temple, and it's not close.
Really? You're not so okay. Is McRae not as good of a deal there?
I just love Rudy Gobert today. He's my second most owned center.
Interesting. Okay. Really? What made him jump out? Just the price?
Yeah, 8,300 on FanDuel. He's cheaper than basically everybody else. The drop off after Gobert is all the way down to $6,100. Steven Adams, so he just stands out pretty aggressively for me.
Okay. Let's see. So here's a team that I've liked quite a bit recently, and I'm curious where you stand with it because they've come through for me more often than not, and that naturally is going to give me concern that they're going to stop coming through at some point. But I'm intrigued by Sacramento again, and Buddy Hield is one of my plays that I have a lot of today. The price has come up a little bit, which does give me some pause, and his ownership is also coming up on DraftKings. Matchup against Golden State, being the late night hammer, all positive things, but Buddy's just been shooting more. He's been getting about 17 shots a game recently. I think having Fox back in the mix actually has helped him more than you might realize. And also, no Bogdan Bogdanovic today. He's out for whatever illness thing. Buddy and the Kings. What are you getting on the Kings? And is Buddy a guy that you would find valuable today?
I'm quite a bit under the field on Buddy Hield as of right now. No one really standing out. Like I'm getting a lot of Marcus Smart, as I mentioned. I'm quite a bit over the 1% owned Terrence Ross. I'm just finding it hard to get to anything good. Like nobody stands out at shooting guard today on FanDuel. No one really stands out at point guard either. So everything is just really, really flat on those sites for me, or on FanDuel for me. So I don't have a ton of interest in Buddy Hield. Basically, anybody that's getting a lot of ownership outside of Marcus Smart, I'm probably under the field on.
Okay.
At shooting.
No, that seems fair. Yeah, Buddy to me, I feel like he's been more secure recently. Whenever Bogdan's not in the mix, I do feel like that's going to give him a bit of a boost. Just the minutes get more secure. He's generally a mid 30s minutes guy. A little easier for him to get to the high 30s minutes without Bogdan in the mix. So I don't mind Hield today, but I get the logic with the ownership and all that on FanDuel. I just think Hield's been really steady recently. And I talked about this with EMAC on a show recently, but I was getting so much Hield when he kept sucking night after night after night after night. And then he's been coming through after that. So got to give Buddy equal love and condemnation. And Buddy today is getting the carrot, but who knows? After today, he may be back to getting the stick. That bastard Buddy.
I get it.
How about the Golden State side? I know we talked about these guys again, but seeing some questions in the YouTube chat and people talking about them. We are not going to have D'Angelo Russell, not going to have Draymond in the mix. And again, we talked about these guys earlier, but Kai Bowman or Bauman, depending upon where you're reading it and who's saying it, is one guy who's going to have some ownership going his way, or theoretically could have some ownership going his way. I guess it hasn't fully materialized yet. Pick up the start last game, does have a pretty decent value price on most of the sites. But also these other guys here should get a boost. Alec Burks, his price is up enough where people won't be going there much. Damian Lee, also a guy who's no longer trendy, even though he's in the 6K range, or rather because he's in the 6K range. What on Golden State would appeal to you in the spot? And who do you think actually gets a bump because of there not being a Russell and Draymond in the mix?
Yeah, so Eric Paschall at minimum salary and whatever cheap salary he's at on DraftKings, certainly in play. That's a guy that I'm looking at. Glenn Robinson is 4,300 at small forward on FanDuel. That's a guy that I'm trying to roster as well. Let's see, who else am I missing? We got a little bit of Damian Lee, nothing crazy. I've got a little bit of Alec Burks. Actually, I've got more than a little bit of Alec Burks, at least relative to the field. I am 3x the field right now. We have him at 7%. That looks to be everybody. None of the big men, no Chris or anything like that. It appears to just be Paschall, Glenn Robinson, Alec Burks, and Damian Lee.
Okay.
And Kai Bowman has like a crappy price on FanDuel, so I don't have him here.
Okay. Yeah. To me, the price on DK, I'm still want to take those stabs on. I'm still not a great usage guy, under 15% usage on the year. That doesn't take a big jump up without Russell either. But he does do enough defensively, and Sacramento can make some mistakes, can let teams into games. And I think Bowman is going to be fine in that respect. But Burks, to me, I just feel like the price is weird enough now that people aren't going to get there. And he does have the keys to the castle for whatever reason when all these guys are out. Just because there's nobody else who can do what he does. One guy, though, who I do have some of, and I know you might not like this, Willie Cauley-Stein, going back to Sacramento, not necessarily just the revenge game component, but the fact this price works. He hasn't fully seen the minutes yet. I think he had just 14 minutes at his return to the lineup after that illness last game. And he just had like first quarter and third quarter stints, didn't play in the second and fourth quarters. But in this spot, going against Sacramento, not a great team inside. I mean, they've had not the worst results against them. But would you take some stabs at Willie with his price, at least his DK price? I don't know where he falls on FanDuel.
Right now, I have absolutely no interest for him, but that's because I have him at 24 minutes. If you think that he's going to get back to like 30 minutes like he was at prior to going out, then I think he's very clearly a decent play. I just have no idea how much he's going to be out on the floor, and I don't really see the need to guess. Because he could still just be not that good as well in 30 minutes. It's not like he's some force to be reckoned with. This team stinks, and they have very little talent out there. If I knew that he was going to get 28 to 30 minutes, I would absolutely have him today. But for right now, I have him at 24 minutes, and I just can't trust it.
Okay, no, that seems fair. I think he's just one of those guys I'm willing to take a stab at today because center does seem like it has some decent values. The guys we've talked about, Tice, Cantor, Willie Cauley-Stein, I think all these guys have some appeal. Minutes, not the most secure in the world, but I'm willing to take that stab a little bit today just because his price is low enough. And he did play with some extra juice the last time he played Sacramento in Golden State. This is his first game since returning there. So I'm willing to take a stab on that with a guy whose price makes sense and who there's a logical reason to go to. And for me, that does fit the criteria for Willie today. Yeah. Scotty Mac 777, the premium Slack, asking, who is your pay up priority on DK? I am playing DK, so I will say for me, it's Luka, but I got a lot more Giannis than I thought I would today. I think the price being down there just kind of makes him a more appealing play. He's under 11K now on DraftKings. Minutes can get weird. It did last game against San Antonio where they were in a big
We got news. Lead. Bradley Beal out.
Oh, all right. So
sorry to cut you off. That's just massive.
No, that's always the good one to do. So of course, the daily live before lock, Bradley Beal is out or in. So what now? Like, I think I don't even know this.
I hate this team, man.
It just ruins everything. Jordan McRae seems like he should be a play. But if he's starting again, like, I don't know. It's not as great a spot for him as a starter going against the good defense. And that kind of scares me a little bit. But what are you doing on Washington now that we know we have no Beal once again?
Right, you're asking the wrong guy at this point, man. I don't know. I got to figure out how I'm going to give them 240 minutes first and foremost.
Yeah, they have some guys out of the rotation. Some guys, Jonathan Williams was waived, so he's gone. Fucking Admiral Schofield has also got sent to the G League. He's on the Go-Go's today, so he's not available.
Well, he has played twice in one day before.
That's true. I guess he could still show up in Washington for this one, but yeah, I mean, the last game we saw with Denver, Troy Brown and Ish went nuts off the bench, and then McCray lost minutes because of that. It wouldn't be the craziest thing to me. Like, I already had some Isaiah Thomas, and not because of the Boston thing, just because his price was low and he just keeps losing minutes to these guys. I don't hate the idea of going Isaiah with his price where it is relative. Troy Brown's up, McCray is up, Ish is up. I don't know, but yeah, like what are you gonna do? What are we?
I have no idea. Now that they don't have Jonathan Williams, I truly have no idea how they're gonna pull this off. They have 2, 4, 6, 8. They have 9 guys, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
2 of which basically can only play one position. So the other 7 need to split what amounts to 192 minutes across 7 guys, which is 27 minutes apiece. So I'm slowly but surely like giving these guys more and more minutes and trying to figure out what happens. It's this is less than ideal.
Yeah, it's less than ideal with half an hour to lock, though. As Eddie always says, and Eddie will be back on the stream tomorrow after your return this weekend. There's opportunity in chaos, so there is certainly some opportunity here. But I'm seeing what Alex has minutes wise. So basically, it looks like he's got everybody who's left getting decent minutes there.
Has he updated?
Yeah, just looks like 24 seconds ago when I pulled it, so about a minute ago.
Okay, I need a reference point right now.
Yeah. Beal's out of here. So if you are a premium member, if you want to become a premium member, now is the time to do it, because these kind of slates are the ones where there is a real advantage in these things going on and having accurate projections. And of course, if you get Osmo's own projections from the top player in the world, you get that Osmo Plus membership. Use that promo code 2020 right now at osmo.com/join and get 20 days for just $20 right now. This is our New Year's deal. It's ending in the next couple of days. I feel like the 10th is when it is, but just do it today. Get in there now, because this slate in particular, Lord knows we all are going to need it. Let's see. How does this affect Washington? So it looks like McCray becomes a better value. Ish still not projecting as that good of a value. Troy Brown closer to playable now. Bradley Beal, I'm going to say not playable. I'll go on that limb. Isaiah Thomas more playable. Garrison Matthews looks like decent value now according to Osmo's projections, though still very low upside value, at least on paper, though we've seen what he can do. And Gary Payton as well looks like he'll see enough minutes to be in play as value. So that's fun.
I am loading mine up now. I'll be able to give it a little bit of a look-see.
Yeah, it's tough, man. With these guys' prices where they are, it's just like it feels a little more of a dice roll than I would like normally from DFS, because these guys, the different configurations and who's starting just like does change how the situation is going to go materially.
All right, so if I hop back to this Washington-Boston game, on FanDuel, I would rank them Gary Payton, Jordan McCray, Troy Brown, Ish Smith. Gary Payton is the absolute minimum on FanDuel and has just completely changed the slate there, in my opinion. On DK, I would say it's McCray, Payton, IT, Troy Brown, Ish, Jan Mahinmi.
Peyton killed us so bad the other day.
Yo, he played.
He did play. He
played like 34 minutes. He was just terrible from a fantasy perspective. So I didn't feel too bad about it. If he would have got like 18 minutes, I would have been really pissed. But if somebody's out there for 34 minutes, I'm happy I made the play. I probably would have had more if I had that. Admiral Schofield has been recalled.
So I think their game was at 3 p.m. Eastern. So I guess he'll be back for tonight's. They are working this poor guy so freaking hard.
I don't get the sense that, did he play earlier today?
He was supposed to. Somebody had posted the tweet earlier, but he was, I think their game was supposed to be at 3 p.m. Eastern was what I had seen somebody post.
What the hell team is he on?
The Capital City Go-Go's.
Of course.
Of course. The team named for an exotic dancer. It's the one.
Capitals. See if he played today. Enter site. They played the Fort Wayne Mad Ants.
Also, the starters were officially announced too. It's Thomas, Payton, McRae, Bonga, Mahinmi.
Sorry, I'm trying to mute that site. He did not play.
Okay.
So there's that. Who were the starters?
They were, I just closed it, but it was, I think, Isaiah, Payton, Bonga, McRae, and Mahinmi.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
I can't imagine having to give Schofield too many minutes here. I nerf Peyton a little bit because I'm going to get a bunch. They seem to hate Bonga for reasons that I don't know. McRae can stay there. I don't care too much about Garrison Matthews. Okay, that's just going to have to work. Yeah, it's still going to be Peyton for me on FanDuel. McRae a close second. McRae pretty significantly the guy on DraftKings in my opinion. IT, Gary Payton, Troy Brown would be the coin flips there.
How many are too many, and do you feel like any of them don't overlap? I think we talked about this last time, but I would still be reluctant to play Isaiah and Ish together. And
agreed.
Yeah, and honestly, overall reluctant to play Isaiah, but I'm going to do it again because one of these days he's going to earn more minutes for himself. But he just seems to find a way to lose minutes over and over again. But anybody else conflict for you in that lineup that you wouldn't want together?
I don't think so. Like, okay. You don't have 5 of them. Like, yes. You shouldn't have that many today that it should matter. They're not that good of plays where you're going to end up with a lot of them.
Yeah, the matchup for this one a little different than some of the other ones they've had where you can plug these guys in and expect them to be decent. We've also seen, too, I mean, that there have been games like guys like McRae. He did go off against Miami, but he's had some down games when playing better defenses, and this is going to be as he did in Denver over the weekend. So I'll still play McRae. I mean, he's still going to project really well, but it doesn't come without risk, especially against a team who's going to really guard him fairly well on the wing. Man,
this is. I'm so tired of the Wizards, man. I really am.
They're fun to watch play because the games are always fast paced and high scoring and all that, but they really make our jobs less enjoyable and more difficult.
They might get absolutely annihilated here by the Celtics.
They keep hanging in these games though, and they beat Denver.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I don't think you can expect that. We always say don't project blowouts, but I really think you still can't. Situation with Washington because, goddamn, I swear, if Ish goes for 55 points again, 55 fantasy points, I will not be thrilled with that.
I'm going to feel a lot worse if Isaiah Thomas does something because I'm not going to have him at all on FanDuel.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
So today's going to be the day.
Yeah. Good. So play everybody. Let's play some Isaiah and hope that Josh is wrong, though.
I had 50% of them when he got thrown out in 90 seconds.
That's right.
I don't even think we were off the damn stream.
That was such a stupid one, though. He didn't deserve that.
He deserved a T. I don't think he deserved the gate. The ref was looking for it.
We've got some questions in the premium Slack that we can burn through real fast while we keep talking about everything else, and we will keep our eye out. The Lowry marketing news, I would say we're not expecting to get throughout the course of the show, but in case something like that breaks, we got some more lineups in. Everything else seems like it's business as usual for the Pacers, Thunder, and the Sixers. Some questions here from Brian Savory or Savory. I'd like to think Savory like a food. Do you see Gafford as a sneaky GPP play playing backup?
No.
No, not particularly. Does seem worth noting though. Chicago ran just 8 guys last game, which I thought was a bit unique for them. But no, Gafford to me in this particular matchup too against Dallas, it's not like a great center matchup, and it's a little sluggishly paced. So I don't think Gafford would be a guy I would. Yeah,
agreed.
No. Ben Forbes asking Gary Payton and Tatum or Smart and Favors if you have Lonzo and Brown. Oh my gosh, for FanDuel.
FanDuel, Gary Payton
and Tatum,
Jason
or Smart
Tatum
and Favors.
Marcus Smart, Derek Favors. I would rather have them separated by 3/100ths of a point, but I think that the Peyton Tatum combo gets to their target a little bit more. So, give me that one.
We have to talk about it, and I know we're gonna say something that maybe that could end up burning us, as it happened the other day. But Garrison Matthews at the minimum on DK. Is he somebody that you would play? Like at this point, I can't say don't play him, but I just still don't see, like, it doesn't seem like a likely outcome for having a good day. But I still would err on the side of not playing him that much.
I am not interested.
Okay, yeah. Don't mind that chance of him doing something. He's cheap. I get it. I just think people treat him like he's a much better player than he is and a much more secure player than he is, when there's too many guys who do the same thing for that team and are much more likely to shoot more. But if he shoots 10 for 11 from 3 again, like, who knows?
Even if he's shooting the lights out, he's averaging 0.73 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. Like, it doesn't seem to be mattering all that much.
Oh, I get it.
Except for
I
the
just
first
think
time.
Yeah, results wise, it seems like we keep getting these situations with people where they're like, "Oh, you said don't play Matthews," like, and it's been really bad. Like, it's been really annoying to me to get the after the fact Captain Hindsight tweets from people. But it's like, yeah, like, I don't know. But there was one we had the other day. You might have seen my reply to it, but somebody was like, "You said Enos Cancer was an okay play and he was a good play." It's like, what? How is that the metric for anything?
Also, still was a completely irrelevant play that was not necessary in any way, shape, or form.
No,
I just can't engage with those people. We got ownership. Jordan McRae is some pretty heavy chalk on DK now.
Oh, good. All right, let me pull that.
And he's even heavier chalk on FanDuel.
So, like, who would you say is the pivot then? It feels like Troy Brown would be the pivot if you wanted to.
I wouldn't pivot.
Okay, interesting.
I mean,
yeah.
If Troy Brown is 2% owned and Jordan McRae is 47% owned, I shouldn't have to tell you what you need to do there, but it's not because of anything other than you just playing more Troy Brown in this scenario. But Jordan McRae is my number one player on DraftKings, so I wouldn't pivot.
Okay. Yeah, I just think if you're looking at it from a pure minutes basis, if there's a way that McRae fails and loses minutes, it's probably Troy Brown who gets those minutes. But we just saw that happen, so maybe that means that people won't have McRae as much as they should for that reason. So, oh God, I feel like lately these slates have been becoming like the Zach Galifianakis doing math meme, where if that happens, then that. But yeah, I would agree. Like, I'll play more McRae than not, but I think if you're going to try to pivot, it would be going, assuming that he fails, and then the offense goes to the bench, because that's what we just saw happen against a similarly tough defensive team.
All right, we still have 6:40. We still have tons of time. I didn't realize. I figured we were getting like up against it, but I'm feeling pretty okay.
Is there anybody else who's jumped out as value to you? Because one guy who still projects me as being decently low on value and should see minutes in one spot. And this is to be clear, like, I'm assuming you're not going to care much about this guy, but like Bismack Biyombo is a guy I think is going to be a little underowned for what he can do in the spot. We've seen him get upwards of high 30s minutes going against Indiana. You would expect him to be getting a good run of minutes here. But is anybody like that for you, where you're like, all right, I don't really love this guy, but I get why he's popping and he does seem like he's worth having a little bit?
I honestly don't know at this point. Now that we have all of this Wizards value, I'm fully expecting my crunches to look dramatically different than they did before. I think that I'm going to be getting a lot more. I would assume I'm going to be getting more Luka Doncic and more Giannis Antetokounmpo than I was getting previously. So I'm about to run the crunch now, but for right now, I don't know who's going to be slipping in because it's a completely different slate than we had a couple seconds ago.
All right. So yeah, we'll keep you updated. Josh will report back on what he's getting as he crunches, because once again, everything changing here in the last minute. Let's see. Our old pal Emax saying, "With shit my money at the game tonight, how many minutes is he going to get off the bench?" So I've got a decent shot at picking up 2 or 3. You could definitely compete with Garrison Matthews for minutes.
I'll tell you what, his two teams between the Orioles and the Wizards, just absolutely rooting for two teams where I wouldn't be shocked if he worked his way out onto the floor as some sort of promotion, because they can use bodies just in general.
We never saw. You never saw her. Like, I don't think we ever had a release of his first pitch video, did we? So
yeah, it was out. It exists.
Oh, okay. I must have missed it then.
Yeah, it exists.
Okay, so maybe they have the scouting tape on him now, and they can just move him around sport to sport.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, who played baseball and basketball? Nobody.
Which you would think, you could make that happen with the overlap, or lack of overlap.
Very different skill sets.
Great hand-eye coordination. That's important to both. Let's see. Favorite low-owned GPP for FanDuel? Do you have one?
Terrence Ross, I guess.
It's like overbroad question, Nay, but Terrence Ross, sure. And then another overbroad question: favorite expensive FanDuel play for our guy Brandon in the premium Slack?
Luca.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Luca's the fact that Luca's averaging just under 2 fantasy points per minute without Porzingis this year. Like, I worry a little bit about Chicago because Chicago, as I mentioned about the matchup for Marcus Smart earlier, like they do play slow. They do have a decent way of limiting the upside because, like, for Marcus Smart, these guys relying on peripherals, relying on assists, and they shut him down for the most part, or at least what he does. Luca scores so much and is just so involved in a variety of ways where I don't think the Bulls are what stops Luca. Whether they come to a ceiling, though, I think is not impossible. But it's hard to see him having a bad day in this spot.
LL Cool Jeff nailed it in chat. Who played baseball and basketball? Michael Jordan.
But he's so I guess
he didn't really do that. He quit one of them to do the other one.
Yeah, he did not overlap.
He quit.
Did not overlap.
Let me put that in air quotes.
All right. What else do we have in the premium Slack? How about some? God damn it! How about some Garrison Matthews at 1.9% owned? That much is a fair amount of Garrison Matthews. Yeah. More than that, 10x the field of Garrison Matthews is not what I would do.
No, I mean I know I wouldn't have a single share. I know that much.
I would be inclined to have a share or two, just particularly because I've seen the other side of it, but yeah, like 1.9% seems about right. If you went to 5% because you love Garrison Matthews and you went to whatever stupid Kentucky school he went to, and I don't mean to offend whatever school he went to, I just literally can't remember it. Then that's great. Like, but just don't go crazy on Garrison Matthews, please. Gafford again, being asked no Gafford. Brian.
Still no Gafford for me.
Aldridge, Collins, or Jaylen Brown for a DK GPP?
Jaylen Brown.
Okay. I would go Collins.
Collins would be my last pick.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Just because of the ownership?
He grades out like super poorly for me every single day.
Okay. I feel like he grades out decently for me every day, which has been fine sometimes, but going against Denver though, tough matchup, but
I had 0% of him, and he is the chalk power forward on FanDuel. That's how wildly off I am on that dude.
What are your thoughts on Kai Bowman on FanDuel?
I won't have any.
All right. Cantor and Plumlee okay on FanDuel at center? What do you think there?
I won't have either one of those guys.
I don't mind Cantor on any site, but I don't know where the Plumlee thing is coming from.
I will have Nikola Jokic being my most owned center, if that helps. So no, not a lot of Plumlee for me.
Interesting.
He's cheap as shit.
What's going on with him? Like, he's so hard to figure out because I thought he was like being more assertive and getting more involved and he was shooting more. And in the last few games, he's kind of back doing the thing again where it doesn't make sense. Like his lines are just low and he's not doing as much of everything. I don't know. I know he's like one of your guys that you ride or die with, but what's going on? It's just too many people in Denver?
He's 8,800 now. So I don't even care. Like, I'm just going to play him because he's 8,800 against Atlanta. So I hope they roll out John Collins for as many minutes as they'd like him to play because he is going to get absolutely beasted by Nikola Jokic in like a pretty aggressive way.
Assuming that Jamal Murray and Will Barton and all of them don't just keep shooting while Jokic stands there and looks not handsome, this will say. Favorite Celtic on DK? I feel like you've talked about this for FanDuel, but who would be your favorite Celtic on DK? For me, it's Marcus Smart.
It's Marcus Smart.
Okay, so we're on the same page there.
All right, just finished my crunch.
Yeah, what do you got?
I don't know yet, but I'm terrified to figure it out. Well, I have slightly less Marcus Smart now because I have 60% Jordan McRae. Okay. I also now have 30% Gary Payton, and we have him at 1% ownership. This dude is impossible to get out of lineups, apparently, but 3,500, happy to do it. 35% Luka now. I got quite a bit of Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm very happy to be there. 68% Jokic can get dialed back. I lost all of my Rudy Gobert now that I have extra monies. So I'm going to walk back a little bit of the Jokic love and bump up the old Rudy Gobert love.
Got me thinking about this Collins thing too. Like he does keep projecting well, but I guess I really haven't had him have a good day when he's projected well, because he keeps getting hurt and shit. Like I don't know how to count for that.
Need to bump Vooch too. Yeah, I just he's just not a guy that ever grades out well for me.
Man, all right, fair enough. Let's see. Josh Hart or Redick on FanDuel with 4,200 to spend on shooting guard. Which of those two would you prefer?
I don't have any Redick, but I also don't have any Josh Hart. So I guess neither.
Yeah, I don't have either guy today either. But it's not the same question on DK. I would probably lean Hart, I think, just because there's probably a better chance of him getting some more minutes. But I honestly, with the way New Orleans rotations run, I don't know. Like those two or each one more, really any of them could pick it up. Don't Embiid my status asking Allen, Holmes, Cantor, or Bielitsa, Pascal, and Gobert on FanDuel. How would you? I'm going to assume you would go to the non-Cantor side.
Correct.
Okay. Do you still have the same amount of Gobert?
Yeah, pretty much. Like 3 times the field.
Okay. Let's see. Anything good here? Kai Bowman, or Gary Payton on DK. How would you lean there?
That's a good question. I haven't looked at either of their prices or their results since then. I am just updating my CSV quickly, so let me just get that in, and then I could circle back to it.
I've got Peyton projected for 2.5 more points, but as a worse value. So, yeah. And Bowman's not going to be that owned, at least in our most recent run of ownership. So I would go Bowman, but I don't have a strong lean.
Okay, so that's Bowman or Bowman or Peyton?
Yep.
What's Peyton's price?
42.
Kai Bowman, because Peyton doesn't make my player pool.
Oh, wow. Okay. There you go. Let's see. Bowman is cheap, 3,700 and starting. Yeah, that is a factor. He's also a guy who sometimes doesn't do much on the court. So definitely some risk with Bowman despite the low price. Let's see. You hit that like button, guys, too, because we're trying to figure this out as we go. But it looks like no other news yet either. So we are still riding with the same information we had at last check.
I'll bet my life that Lauri Markkanen plays.
You would bet your life?
I'm starting to think that I would. Because I've got a lot of Thad Young, and he's like essentially unowned on FanDuel. So that's usually one of those scenarios where I end up taking it and just getting destroyed with it.
Okay, that does seem, with that knowledge that you have in your head, I guess that would be a factor.
Yeah, it's pretty commonplace at this point.
He's been trending upwards all day, so it seems like logical that he would get in there.
I just don't know why they would risk it. But I guess probably because they don't have power forwards on their team. It would be my first guess. But that doesn't appear to be stopping the Wizards at all. So.
They're still waving their guys. So
they're waving power forwards to be like, no, we can't be having these clowns.
Let's see. We got some more starters. Paul Millsap officially available to play. That was 7 minutes ago. But Jamal Murray also available to play. None of that's unexpected. And it's worth noting, it is not Cody Zeller starting for the Hornets. I know the Deeper Dive guys talked about that as being a possibility since they did that the last time they played Indiana. But is in fact PJ Washington starting. PJ was not available for that last time they played. So if you're expecting Zeller to get more minutes, he still can, but he is not assured more minutes now by being a starter.
It's going to be on the slate.
Brian Peel, thoughts on Nuggets backup guys like Morris on FanDuel for a GPP? I'd be much more inclined to take Michael Porter in general, but what do you feel about the backups for the Nuggets, and any of them jump out to you at all?
I will not have a single share of any of the Nuggets backups. I can't imagine wanting to play backups on a 9-game slate.
Okay, that seems fair. Yeah, I think you're probably expecting things to blow a certain way. I just don't mind Porter just because he's a fun new toy to play and he's cheap enough and he's going to have big upside days. So I don't mind trying to get there early, but I think that's a fair point that it's I wouldn't say too cute, but it's just like not a play you need to make necessarily. So I guess that could be too cute.
I barely get all the starters in my player pool. It's really difficult for me to advocate for anybody in those sorts of scenarios. Like, Plumlee, in a way, if Jokic is picking up ownership, becomes a natural way to go the other direction because he benefits directly from it. But just picking Malik Beasley or some random guy from Jamal Murray could get into foul trouble or whatever. Doesn't even really matter for Morris. They have plenty of other options of guys that can handle the ball. It probably just goes into Will Barton's hands a little bit more. You're also not projecting foul trouble on Jamal Murray, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to see, the guys spike a random day or something, but yeah, it's hard to predict. I think just thing with Porter is that he's such a high usage guy when he comes off the bench. But you saw last game, I mean, I think people played him over the weekend at least a little bit because he had the monster game against Indiana. Then they were saying, oh, he's going to get mid-20s minutes. Alex talked about this on the deeper dive, and then it turned out he just had I think 12 minutes overall because he didn't even get any run in the second half. There's a lot of risk with a guy like Porter and these other guys too. And I think that game too, I forget, it was one of the other guys who came in as a defensive replacement instead of Porter. Actually, Malik Beasley, I think, came in there instead of him.
Torrey Craig.
Was it Torrey Craig? No. In that last game, I think it was.
Oh, the last game? No, I don't know. It was Torrey Craig a couple games ago.
Yeah. It was the day that he started too. But then there was another game too over the weekend where I'm pretty sure it was Beasley came in and took the second half minutes against Washington. Let me just double check that, but not that it matters that much, but just for the sake of completeness. Beasley took the second half run after playing barely any in the first half. And then Porter didn't see the floor. So that's the way it can go. They went to him because they were getting just completely killed by by Brown and Ish off the bench. So, there are ways that Porter can lose minutes, but I just don't mind a stab in this particular matchup. Let's see. Barton or Hayward, if you already have Jaylen Brown. And we need less conditional.
Yeah, I'm not building your lineup for you.
But just Pass. Barton or Hayward in general.
Hayward.
Okay.
Not close.
Brian Peel, thoughts on Barton on FanDuel?
I have an exact same amount as our ownership projections say. I have 7.3%, and that is where we have him projected.
That seems fair to me. It's funny when these questions come in multiples where I don't even get the rhyme or reason why those happen sometimes. But all of a sudden, everybody in the premium Slack wants to talk Will Barton.
Go Spencer Dinwiddie tonight. I think that would be very important for me.
It's not a great matchup.
Spencer Dinwiddie and there's no Levert. I'll take as many chances as I can get while he's still not ridiculously expensive.
Would you go Collins or Aldridge for fantasy draft cash?
Fantasy draft cash. Whew. That's a deep cut.
Our guy SJM loves fantasy draft cash. Big. Always asking a good fantasy draft question on these shows.
Who were the people again?
It was Aldridge or Collins.
Okay, so they're right next to each other. Aldridge, not close.
I would go Collins. But we've defined our stances with that. So
I have Aldridge by 4 fantasy points.
Okay. Look, Aldridge is going to shoot threes in this spot. He shot 7 threes in that last game. They're going to give him open looks from 3. That's what Milwaukee does. We talk about it a lot on the show. They give you looks to the guys that they don't expect that are going to hit the threes, and Aldridge is a guy who will shoot it. He's actually been a good 3-point shooter, so definitely possibly spikes an upside that we didn't in that game. So, that doesn't matter, but just still tough defense besides the open looks from 3. Let's see, back to the YouTube chat. Anything good here? Dinwiddie or Gobert? There's an interesting question.
What site?
I would
it's got to be
assume
DraftKings, right? Yeah.
I would assume DK. I don't mind Gobert. I don't.
I'm gonna cough. Hold on.
Sure. Yeah, I don't have much of either guy personally, so I don't have a strong lean there. But
Dinwiddie with a slight coin flip. Alex has Gobert by a half point, but I think Dinwiddie probably has a little bit more highly variant performance.
All right. All right, I guess get into this lineup. Harrison Barnes, why not? Let's see. How do you feel about the Spurs on DK, especially DeJounte? I don't think this is the right matchup for DeJounte Murray, but I would say that I'm intrigued by them as a concept. I just don't think they're going to meaningfully exceed value. I don't have a strong lean on any of these guys. But as I mentioned, I do think Aldridge is going to get to shoot more threes. DeRozan has no interest in shooting threes at all, which I think is one concern. But the prices are fine. It's just not a matchup I'm dying to have.
I've got a bunch of Aldridge. That's about it.
yeah, it's like I have no issue with the spot. It's just not one that I would be jonesing for. Let's see. Oh, Athletic just dropped a nice article on how the Bucks changed their defense after Aldridge after he hit 4 threes last game. Yeah, I would think that's the thing they do is like they'll make a guy prove it if he could shoot, and if he can shoot, then they'll start locking him down, and that's probably going to be the case in this spot. Anything else, I guess, you notice in your crunches that might be interesting to talk about for the last 2 minutes here while I put my shit in?
I'll go over my exposures. So 37% Luka, slightly north than what we're projecting the field. 30% Spencer Dinwiddie, so that's a 2x play. Double the field on Jamal Murray, close to double on Lonzo Ball. That's about it for interesting stuff at point guard. At shooting guard, I'm right with the field on Jordan McRae. I've got 60%. Still at 44 for Marcus Smart. I've got a lot of Gary Payton, although he is going unowned, but he is the flat minimum on FanDuel, so I think that's worth the risk. Buddy Hield is relatively chalky at 24.5%. I have about a third. That looks like a stand I'm making. Small forward, I'm just a hair above where we have Giannis projected. Similar story for Jaylen Brown, roughly 30%. Same story for Gordon Hayward. Still about double the field on Alec Burks. I've got a lot of Troy Brown in comparison to just the 6% we're projecting. I'm in the 30s. And then Glenn Robinson, also about 4x the field there. Jason Tatum and LaMarcus Aldridge, roughly double the field on both of those guys. Pretty much equal on Rashawn Holmes. I have essentially 0 John Collins, who is the most owned power forward. I have essentially 0 Derek Favors, who is also in the 20s in ownership. I have a ton of Thad Young and Eric Paschall. Again, this is mostly a salary thing. Don't really see anything else that I'd rather have, so I'd rather just load up on cheaper guys to pay up elsewhere. Then finally at center, I basically only have 3 guys, Jokic, Vooch, and Gobert. I have 1 share of Embiid, 1 share of Steven Adams, and 1 share of Wendell Carter.
Interesting. Also, shout out to Hayden S. for the super chat. We missed it while we were kind of finishing up our stuff, but love you guys from Houston. We appreciate you, Hayden, and I appreciate the state of Texas. So thanks for the shout out, buddy. And thanks for the super chat. Yeah. All right. And we are locked, guys. So again, hit that like button. Also, shout out to Super Draft for sponsoring the show. You should be playing on there and at least taking advantage of that $20 deposit bonus right now. If you use the promo code AWESEMO, just deposit $100 on there and they'll give you $20 free right away. Go to superdraft.io. It's the future of DFS. The multiplier tournament style on there is one where you don't even have to know salaries. So just pick your guys and go. So check them out right now at superdraft.io. And I guess let's do a quick round of Daddy Likes too, very quick, because fucking A, man. I hate just whenever everything breaks last minute, it is never good for me as a DFS player. My sacrifice is playing way too much of Aaron Holiday now. It's whatever. It's fine.
I am 4% Aaron Holiday. He is 5,600 on.
Yeah, no, it's not great because I just pulled him into the lineups and he is a guy who was playing early. So now Aaron Holiday will be in more lineups than I certainly wanted, but such is life.
I don't hate my exposures. I could really use that Celtics Wizards game to stay close, which, probably not the best thing in the world for me.
Hey, it's a home game for Washington. They're fine. If they can beat Denver, anyway. It's a new approach with the bare bones Washington Wizards. And holy crap, the ownership in the fadeaway right now. You want to guess who the top owned guy in the large DK tournament is today?
Let me see which games are on right now. Oh, there's 4 games. Yep. Jordan McRae?
No, he's number 2. Number 1 is Marcus Smart at 46%.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think about Smart. I didn't really know what his DraftKings price was. I'd completely forgot it. Yeah. Whew, that's a big number. That's a big number.
That is a big risky number. I mentioned, look, I like him. We had him projected for I think a little bit less ownership than that, which is a little bit scary. But, it is the kind of match where theoretically he should have more upside. You're going to see a lot of wing defense for him. Some guys who can turn it over, some guys who can brick shots, and Smart can push the pace. So I'm hopeful because I am with the field on this one. I'm at 50% Smart. And yeah, that's, oh boy. Well, Jordan McRae, though, number 2 at 41%. Guess who number 3 is?
Okay. No one from the Hornets.
Mm-mm.
No one from the Pacers, I would guess.
Mm-mm. It's a big man.
And well, don't help me.
Okay, fine. I was just trying to be nice.
Vooch?
It is Vooch, 28.2%. So that is, like, he's been good, and he needed to take a price jump. Boy, 28% is not what I'd have expected for him. Number 4 is Isaiah Thomas with 17%. So I mean, the price makes sense. He's due to have one of these days that everybody else on Washington's had, but that's a lot of Isaiah Thomas.
He's my second favorite guy on the Wizards from DK, so I can't disagree with it. I'm surprised that everybody else feels that way, given he just can't seem to be on the floor, ignoring getting ripped off of it by referees.
Yeah, look, there have been days where he hasn't been kicked out of a game by a ref, where he hasn't quite gotten the minutes, but he'll be one of the chalk plays on DK's big tournament. Just run through the rest. Domantas Sabonis down just under 15%. Jaylen Brown, 12.3. Jason Tatum, 11. Joel Embiid, also a rounded up 11. Aaron Gordon, a rounded down 10%. Enes Kanter, 9%. So people are there. Tice owned exactly the same, 9.42 compared to 9.44 for Kanter. So that's interesting. Gordon Hayward, 8.5%. Devontae Graham got back on track the other day. Good for him, 8.1%. Aaron Holiday at 8 flat. Bismack Biyombo, 7.3. Ben Simmons, 7.2. Did anybody play themselves? Garrison Matthews got up to 6.1%. So there you go. Garrison, a lot of Garrison Matthews believers. Boy. Miles Turner, 6%. Terry Rozier, 6%. Al Horford, 5%. Poshniks, 4.7%. Evan Fournier stand up, 4.7% for our boy. Cody Zeller, 4%. Markelle Fultz, 4%. Garrett Temple, 4%. Did anybody play themselves? Where's Bradley Beal? Somebody had to play Bradley Beal, right?
You would think.
Oh, you know what? 0.02% played Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. So congratulations to those people. I can confirm they also played themselves.
They played themselves whether that guy was active or not.
Oh, yeah. Also, 0.05% did play Bradley Beal as well. And also, that 0.05% played Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot. So that's fun.
What up, TLC?
They don't want no scrubs. Or I guess they do want scrubs, depending on how you view Timothy. But yeah, still no update on Lauri Markkanen. That'll come over the course of the next hour, hopefully. We appreciate you guys for watching. Hit the like button before you go. Shout out Super Draft for the last time, the last plug of the day. Use that promo code 2020 at awesemo.com/join for 20 days for $20 right now. It's the best deal you'll find for the new year. It is going away in mere days, so take advantage of it now. Use all the data we have. The premium tools there give you access to every single data point that we have on the site. The Boom Bust tool, all the sports too. PGA is heating up right now, so go check it out right now at awesemo.com/join. Anything else you want to hit on, Josh, before we call it quits?
No, that's about it. I'll be back in the morning with Lofty. No Adam. He's at the Wizards game. I need him to, I don't know, try to take out a Celtic that I don't have a lot of and try to help me out here, man.
Yeah, Adam, if you're listening somewhere at the game, which I'm sure that's one of Adam's favorite things to do, is to watch one of our shows while out doing things and enjoying life. But make sure to just give Garrison Matthews a little pat on the back for all the believers out there who believe in him more than his own family, I would think, for Garrison Matthews.
Yeah, I don't believe in him at all. So
we appreciate all you guys for watching. Tomorrow, Fast Eddie Fear and Chris Randone, the much ballyhooed guy that you've all been dying to talk about. He'll be here tomorrow, so tune in, drive up viewership. And hear what he has to say, because I'm sure he'll have something put together to talk to you guys about. We appreciate all you guys for watching. Hit the like button before you go. We'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your nights and good luck.